So I'm happy to welcome everyone to Introduction to Financial Literacy with Peter Wright. It's wonderful to see people from all over the province participating in professional development on such an absolutely gorgeous May evening. So I know that you're going to have a really informative session here with Peter. So I'm going to hand it over to Peter, and he'll introduce himself and take it from here. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Okay, thanks very much, Mally, and welcome everybody. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I was a classroom teacher for 35 years, and about 6 years ago I retired from the classroom, and I'm now doing some work with Nipissing and Brock and also with the ministry. And I became interested in the financial literacy resources that were becoming available to teachers. It was an area which I felt we had long neglected. I did a lot of work working with locally developed courses and workplace courses in the high school in math, and we did a little bit in those courses, but it was an area that was neglected in other areas, so I really welcomed the resources I saw being made available. And at that time it was a joint initiative between the Ontario Securities Commission and the ministry, and since last spring OTF has taken over the Ontario Securities Commission side of things. And let's see if I can operate this. Okay, we're good. Okay. So yes, so we'll look today at the why, what, where of these resources. They are actually designed for all grades 4 to 12, but today's focus will be on secondary ones, obviously. And they are designed for all subjects, and we are a fairly small group of us. So a couple of things. First of all, if you have a question, the best time to ask it is when you think of it, and I'm very comfortable with that. So just enter it in the chat box there, and I'll try and keep my eye on that. And perhaps I can ask you to just take a second to share with us what subject and grade you identify yourself with currently, please. So if you can share that with us in the chat pod, and that will give me an idea of how to focus things later on as well. So just if you can type in the subject and grade that you identify with mostly. Thanks, Jenny. Okay. That's quite an eclectic group there, and I'll try and keep us, I'll try and find some things there that are going to be of interest to everybody. As I said, my background is mathematics, but these resources are across all subject areas, and you'll see that very soon. Okay, so moving along. We'll start off by talking about the why. I suspect since you're logged into this session, you're probably already convinced that there is a need for it. But I'd just like to share a few things with you. And Mally, can we either give them the link for the video or put it on a web tour, please?
Yeah, I'm going to put the link to the video in the chat box, and if you want to access it that way, you can just click on the link. And ultimately, we're going to use the web tour. It'll show automatically in the screen, we hope. Now, once you've finished watching it, if you could just put a green check mark so that we'll know that everybody has finished. So let me just go and get that link, and I will put it in the chat and also in the web tour.
Sorry, Mali, I didn't have my mic turned back on again. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay, so as I was saying in my comment there to Kaylee, I think that addresses math phobia as much as it does financial literacy. But yes, people are uncomfortable with it. And you're right, Kaylee. It's socially acceptable to be, uncomfortable with mathematics and financial literacy. Okay, so moving on then, a couple more questions for you. What do you think is the current Canadian household debt level? So for every dollar that the average Canadian household receives, how much are they in debt? And the second question for you, what do you think our Ontario teens are saving for? What's their priority? And anybody want to share a couple of thoughts there in the... Well, I'm impressed, Kaylee. Okay. You're pretty close there, and I don't usually get that second answer correct. So yes, indeed. Where are we? So for every dollar that we earn, we owe $1.63 or $1.64. And you're quite right there, Kaylee. The number one choice of teens that they're saving for is indeed clothing. And there's more information about this on this site here. You will be getting a sheet of resources posted after this webinar, and the links for all these materials are on that resource handout. So if you want to use these for your students, feel welcome to. And just in case you can't read the details there, I've zoomed in a little bit. So the average Canadian post-secondary student debt upon graduation is $27,000. And their priorities for saving are clothing, entertainment, technology, gifts, and number 5 is education. Okay, so your answer there as well, Linda. Yes, that's $1.50 is sort of the a typical guess mark, and a lot of people think people will be saving for a car, and yet that's not even in the top 5 there. And I included this half this time. I don't always, because if you're having discussions in your classes, there might be some points there which are of interest. Students who believe financial literacy should be taught in the classroom, it used to be 57%. That went up 69% to 69% in 3 years. Students who think it's important to know about managing personal finances, that's going up as well. And also potential impact, students who feel school provides the information they need are twice as likely to budget. And you see the number who feel they do not receive the information that they require is going down. So someone's doing the right thing there, anyway. And this was some data a little bit more recent. That last Canadian data was from 2012. This is from 2014 in the States, but you'll see it basically reinforces what we just saw there. So I'll move on again. And this was a number which, when I first saw it, really shocked me. The Canadian student loan debt. And if I count those commas up, I think that is 13 billion. So, well, actually 14 billion basically, if you round it. So, okay. And something I just came across I was at the OME conference a couple of weeks ago in Barrie, and looking at a presentation from the ministry, and they shared this, which was created from responses to a survey they did of students in about 2012. They were asking students what they felt they would need to prepare them as digital learners in the 21st century. And the reason why I've included it here is because if you look up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see teaching financial literacy. No prompting at all, but that came out of the survey. That's what they volunteered. And I also noticed there that one of the other comments that they were making was caring for others. That's underneath the financial literacy reference. And of course, all of us want to seize the teachable moment. And there have been a lot of things coming out of the Fort McMurray situation, which we could certainly probably use in our classrooms if we're not doing so already. So Yes, it's from the ministry. It's from their slideshow. I can send you the slide, Nally, and I don't know where they use it, but it's they're very comfortable with us using it. So at least with me using it, I'm sure. OTF in general, yes. So I don't think I have a reference for that on the handout, but I will see if I can dig one up. Okay, so what are we going to be looking at today? Well, we're going to be looking at curriculum-based lesson plans and tools that introduce financial concepts and issues. I've given you a few samples there on this page here before we actually get into them in detail. Up in the top there, you'll see a chart on the big picture. It keeps track of various economic trends from, I think it's 1935 up to the present day, and it's kept always constant. That's available. There's a video clip there, and if you see the title there, Are You Doing It Regularly? This is one of the video clips which is designed for the senior students, and I highly recommend that you watch the video clip before you show it to your class. I've had classes for which that would have been suitable, and I've had classes for which that would not have been suitable. You might infer from the title there that there is a sort of a double entendre intended there. But it's a good video clip, and the link will be from the OTF site later on. There are games. The one in the center there is called Currency Match. If we have time, we'll play a game later on. And there's another section of games somewhere else there called Cranial Cash Clash, which are neat, and the students like one feature of those games, which I'll highlight with you later on. Down the bottom left-hand corner, and you'll see this, obviously you can't see much now, but there is a concept map for grades 4 through 12, and I'll be showing you that in more detail. There are downloadable Excel spreadsheet pages, and then there's all the lesson plans in the bottom right-hand corner there. So that's some of the things that we're going to be seeing later on. So just to whet your appetite. This is the main page for the Ontario Teachers Federation resources, and now, are we going to be able to do a web tour of this, do you think, Nally? Are we going to try that?
Sure, walk on the wild side. Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, the technology seems to be working well tonight, so go ahead and give it a shot.
So what do I need to do? Do I just click on it myself, or will you put it up for us?
You're going to go to the middle button, which is the application sharing, and then it will say share your computer screen, and then we'll let you know if we can see it. We'll know pretty much right away. And when you're scrolling through the site, if you can actually go quite slowly, because there is a little bit of catch-up time.
Okay, okay. Where do I select the sharing from? Oh, this one here? Okay, I see it. So what happens if I do this?
Yeah, Peter, I don't think it's going to work because it's still spinning for me. Is it spinning on your screen? Yeah, I think you should maybe go back to the presentation. Oh, it might be coming. Just hold on a second. Thanks to everybody for being patient. It's a great feature when it works.
It tells me it's sharing the application.
Okay, I can't see anything. Can anyone else see anything on their screen? If you can give me, can you see his? No, they can't see it, Peter.
Okay.
There's something way off to the left, and I'm seeing that as well. So I think you should maybe go back to the presentation.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay, so I'll take you back there. There you go.
Okay, if you want to investigate that web page later on, you'll see that Denali has given you the link there. But meanwhile, I was half prepared, so on my next slide, well, first of all, while we're showing this slide here, I'll draw your attention to down the left-hand side there, you'll see that the resources are color-coded for teachers, for parents, and for students. And if you were to click on either one of those particular 3 items there, you would see all the links for teachers or all the links for parents and so on. But more interestingly, for our purposes right now, are those 3 filters in the center. And on the next slide there, I'll show you what we see from those. So by resource, you'll see that there are, I'm not going to read them all, activities, contests, interactive tools, lesson plans, worksheets, and so on. Grades, as you would expect, all the grades identified. And probably of more interest to you is looking at the subjects there. You'll see that there are materials prepared for all subject areas. Okay? So, and you'll see that I have accessed some of those. I've used those filters on some of the slides that I'll be showing you shortly. I mentioned earlier on that there was a financial literacy concept map. This is available if you just click on that in the search box. You'll come up with that right away. And again, you may not see all the categories there. I wanted to give you the overview that it's all from grades 4 through 12. That bottom category is, let's see what it is on the next slide, is planning for the future. And you might have seen that that only begins with the grade 9 students. But that's what we're focusing on today. And so I'll give that to you in a little bit more detail there. So those are the categories for grades 9 through 12. And at the very top there, I've shown you what those 5 sections are. So money basics is the top row, saving is the second row, spending in the middle, economy in blue, and that bottom one is planning for the future. And I have highlighted a couple of, well, I've highlighted the money basics content there. So using financial terminologies in all 4 grades. And there's some other quite interesting things there. In grade 10, they're suggesting to differentiate between needs and wants. Well, I think I don't need to talk to you about the importance of that, and especially for your parents as well. Analyze the role and importance of credit in personal and business finance. These days, students are using credit cards at earlier and earlier ages, I'm finding, from my grandchildren. Calculate the cost of loans. Well, maybe grade 10 is a little bit early for that, but getting used to, if they're using credit cards, then that's a natural consequence. I've also included a couple of the planning for the future. Have I? Let's see. Sorry, no, the saving. I'm confusing myself now. I've included a couple of the spending details there for grade 11 and grade 12 as well. So under grade 11, it's compare costs associated with various spending scenarios, develop a personal budget based on current costs of goods and services. And as I said, there are some Excel worksheets which are available to download as well that complement some of these things. Okay. If you have any questions about anything you see on the screen, please, as I said before, feel free to ask me a question in the chat box. The best time to ask a question is when you think of it. So this was just a sample that I showed you. I will be giving you a chance to go and look at some of these things live at some point. But in this case here, I merely clicked on grade 9, and I didn't restrict resource or subject. So basically, I came up with all the resources in all subject areas for grade 9. And as you can see, there's quite a wide selection there. Some of them are videos you can see there. They're all color-coded according to the teacher, parent, student color coding. There's games that I see there, videos, and the lesson plans themselves, which I will be focusing on in more detail. Those are the ones, if you look at the left-hand page, the top left-hand corner, there's 3 with a sort of a yellow symbol in the top right-hand corner there. Those are examples of 3 of the lesson plans. But you'll see there's some other lesson plans there as well. So quite, as I say, an eclectic selection of resources there. And maybe this is a good time to share a personal observation. I've often gone through life thinking that what you get for free is often worth what you pay for it. This happens to be one of those rare cases where that is absolutely not the situation. The quality of these materials is really first rate, and I'm hoping to show you that to you shortly. So this is an example of a grade 10 lesson, and this is the actual downloadable lesson plan part of it. So there are 3 pages which first of all give you the curriculum correlations, and then they will give you the details of the Minds On component at the bottom of that first page there, and then there's an action that continues to the top of the second page, and then there's an action explanation section for the lesson, and then the consolidation will be on the third page. However, in addition to that, you also get, along the top there is a 3-page student handout, and there's also, in this particular lesson, there is a 4-page appendix on using various forms of technology, using TI-83, TI-Nspire, various software programs, and so on. So as I say, it's really nice that the lesson plans are there. Now, even if you can't use them exactly as they appear there, there's some good solid content that you may need to massage a little bit to fit the needs of your particular group of students. So I did a couple more screenshots, and this time I'm looking at lesson plans only for grade 10 on the left. So you can see there's, well, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17 of them. And lesson plans for grade 12 on the right-hand side there, there's 11 of them there. So there is quite a wide selection, and there has been a little bit of a hiatus in developing new material because of the change in ownership, but my understanding is that we are anticipating creating some new resources in the fall, and I've already had some suggestions from the field for areas where we could have some new resources. One area which we don't have a lot for so far, and I don't know if this applies to any of the schools that you're working with, is areas that address agricultural rural community. And I think that's an excellent suggestion and an area that will certainly be of interest. So another example, which and I'll give you a few minutes shortly to go in and investigate some of these, and then give us some of your own comments back from them afterwards. But this is one for Prep My Mind. So they're saying that this is ideal for the grade 11 college level course. I would certainly be able to use some of this with an MEL 3E or 4E class if it's in mathematics, and I can think of some other areas where that would come into, where that could be used as well. Okay, Nali is keeping us on track, and she has just given you a link for the Prep My Ride PDF file in the chat pod there. Thank you very much, Nali. Making my life very much easier. Thank you. Okay, these are some games, but before we play the games, I'm going to suggest that you either click on the first link that Nali is showing there, which will take you to the home page for the these materials with the 3 filters there, or if you wanted to actually go straight to the Prep My Ride lesson, that is in the second link that is there. And I'm showing that we are about almost 8 o'clock. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes and ask you to go in and do a little bit of investigating, maybe download a particular lesson plan that might be of interest to you in an area that's of interest. And then I'd like you, when you come back, to share any thoughts you have. And I'll share with you some observations that I often receive from people. So thank you, Manny. You've got us time there. Okay, so in about 5 minutes' time, we'll come back together again. I'll be here the whole time, so if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free. Okay, if you can give me a green check mark, please, when you're back with us.
So it looks like most people are back, Peter.
Okay. Just saying, Mr. Cayley. Okay, so I would really like it if a couple of you could share with us any thoughts, pro or con, about what you may have just looked at. Who's going to be brave? Okay. I think Josie is sharing something with us. Okay, Linda, thank you. Okay. I'm not sure if anybody else is sharing anything with us. Okay, I won't spend too much time then, but okay. Yes, Sheila, they really are very complete packages there. I saw a lot that I would use with MEL, Melanie, yes. There are some that are on compound interest and that could be used with the unit on sequences of series in the grade 11 U course, I guess. Sequences series, financial applications. But okay, so you've got the links there, and as I say, I'll be sending you, or OTF will be making available to you a list of resources for all these things here, and there's way too much for anybody to appreciate, in one short session. But I just want to give you a taste and whet your appetite, I hope. This is a game, and we'll see how time goes later on. If we have a chance, we may play that one, but there's a second game as well, which we may get to as well. So, sorry if okay, I'll look at some more resources which are available to you. Now, you've seen some of these pages here which have the Wise Owl on them, and those are ones which are from OSC, the Ontario Securities Commission, but they're still linked from the OTF pages. So you can get there directly, although I've given you the links directly on the resource page. So certainly with a senior class, there's a lot of material out there which addresses getting an education. That's the left-hand page there, and the right-hand page is a blog. And so I'm not sure if you can read it, but the bottom one there is what kind of budget-minded vacation will you be enjoying this summer? And the top one on the blog there is, what are your financial resolutions for 2015? Okay. But I have shown you some of those in a little bit more detail here. So under the education, okay. I'm just reading Josie's comment, and Jody says that her audio is out. Oh, Sheila says hers is in and out. Nali, are you detecting anything, any problem there as well? I can increase the volume from my end if that helps.
No, it could be, I'm seeing a couple of people with lags, so it could be the lag in your internet. It will catch up.
Okay. I did increase my volume. If that was too much, please tell me. I don't want to be blaring in your ears, making you deaf. Okay, so this is linked to the last slide. So on the information there about getting an education, those topics there which are listed underneath the graphic, I printed in a little bit more detail there. As I say, I thought there's a lot there which could really lend themselves to some valuable discussions in class or as part of a research assignment or project for the students. And these were a couple of the items I took from the blog, I think, and certainly the topic on the right there, Police Conference on Aging Population, financial implications there. That's something which society needs to be very much alert to these days, and dealing with dementia and ways to plan ahead financially. So there's some very interesting topics there that I think our students would probably be able to relate to. I think a lot of the students in our schools now have family members who are suffering from dementia, and we know that the demographics is having a lot of implications for us. Okay, so now, do you think there's any chance that we can, I'm thinking that we're going to play safe and not try a web tour for this one again, Nali. So if we can give them the link for Cranial Clash, this is a game, and there's one particular feature of these games. There's actually 3 versions of it, but there's one feature which appears in all 3 of them, which I don't usually tell the students, but they usually pick it up for themselves, and they really like it. So I think, Nali, if we can give them, well, let's say 4 minutes to 4 or 5 minutes, and again, when you've seen enough of this, if you can give us a green check mark, I'll continue with the webinar. So have fun and enjoy the game. As you can see from that slide, there's actually 3 different versions of the game. There's the Family Financial Face-Off, Gift Thrift, or Ready, Set, Retire. I just realized I've been talking without my mic on. Okay. I was commenting on that comment of yours, Nali. That's pretty sad there. I feel for you. And Kaylee, yes, I certainly hear you, what you're saying there. It's amazing how much more response I get when I turn my mic on. Okay, that seems to be a consistent thought there. Okay, Melanie. Nali was saying the same thing. Okay, did anybody notice anything happening that the students really, pick up on and really like? The feature of the sort of structure of the games? Yes, Kaylee, and the brain also changes size as well. So it gets smaller when you get wrong answers, and it gets larger when you get big answers, and it dances, as you said. And the students kind of like that. Okay, and looking at your response there, I was just reminded of a couple of things that I should have shared with you. And welcome, Cliff. Okay. that I should have shared with you after we were looking at the lesson plans, because a comment that I often get about the lesson plans is that the timing is off. Now, I think actually that is more of a, okay, Linda, I'm noticing that, okay. And by the way, all comments that, feedback that goes back to the website are looked at and paid attention to. Yes. But a comment back about the lesson plans is that I frequently get two comments. One is that the timing may be off, but as I say, that I think is more of a compliment to the creativity of you, the teachers, because basically you're seeing ways that you can expand on what's there and take a 40-minute lesson and make it into a 2-day activity for the students. And the other comment that I found is that there's often some of the group activities lend themselves really, really beautifully to developing or strengthening the role playing within the group and the role responsibilities within a group. So those are a couple of comments that I've had from a number of different of the lesson plans. Okay, are there any more comments about the games before we move on? Okay. So I mentioned when I first took you to or showed you the OTF main page there, that down the left-hand side there are 3 color-coded keys for teachers, for parents, and for students. You probably can't read them on your screen right now, but those are the yellow, red, and green rectangles there. And in this case here, I clicked on the parents, and I didn't restrict resources, theme, or age at all. And there's quite a few that were listed there, and I've highlighted some of them there. There's a blog for the parents on Quick Cash, the case for babysitting, and that's recommended for grades 8, 9, 10, and going up. Investing in kids, get them when they're young. This again is recommended for grades 9 and up. There's activities specifically addressing delayed gratification, and there are worksheets on shopping lists. Also the bottom one there, teaching kids about credit and credit cards, and that's recommended for grades 9 and up. And the last one that I highlighted there for you was teaching kids about credit history and good debt versus bad debt. So you can see there's quite a few resources there. Now these are intended as resources to involve the parents, but obviously there's resources there that can be used for classroom discussions or for research projects and so on. I just had another thought there when I was saying that, and it's completely escaped my mind again. Okay. And these are what some of those resources look like. So, so you can share the links with the parents, and the parents. I'm not sure what your experience is with your groups of students, but we're finding increasingly that a lot of parents like to be involved in these types of topics with their students, their children. So far, the resources I've been sharing with you have all been accessible directly from the Ontario Teachers Federation resource. That's the one at the bottom left there on the screen there, inspirefinanciallearning.ca. And say they do link a few things away from that main source, including some of the Ontario Securities Commission materials which were originally part of this program. However, the ministry, this was a joint initiative with the ministry around about 2005, I think, maybe a little bit later. No, I think it was about 6 or 8 years ago, so that would be a little bit later. And they also have a complementary page of resources on their EduGains websites. If you haven't been to EduGains recently, it's been undergoing some revisions, and the financial literacy webpage I discovered last week when I was talking to some people at the ministry is currently under revision there. So if you find things a little bit awkward, bear with them. They're working on it. But there's still, these are all slides that I was able to access I think last Thursday and last Friday, and so it's still functioning quite well. So if you go to the financial literacy section of EduGains, you'll see the 3 links down the left-hand side there for some background as to why we're teaching financial literacy, and that actually is linked to one of the documents that they have listed on their main page, which I've shown you at the top right-hand side there, called a sound investment, which is an overview of the need for and implementation of financial literacy education in Ontario schools. The 2 documents which have a white cover underneath that are a scope and sequence. The middle one there is for grades 4 through 8, and the bottom one is for grades 9 through 12, which is the one that most of you would be interested in. And so if you want the scope and sequence, that's obviously more detailed than the one-page concept map. Okay, Linda, thanks for letting us know that, and check in tomorrow and you'll get the links. Okay, thank you, and thanks for your contributions today. So if we pursue this some more and go to the secondary resources, one question I didn't ask you at the beginning, this is what can you give me a check mark, please, if any of you have a particular interest in special ed? Any of you involved significantly? Daryl is, okay. Ann Cliff, okay. Okay, the reason why I'm asking you that is because you might find there's a lot of videos that I'm going to be referencing from this website shortly. But in addition, and these are unfortunately very well hidden now, there are some videos of financial literacy being taught at the Trillium School for the Hearing Impaired in Milton. For a couple of years I was a department head at E.C. Drury, which was the Halton School that was linked with the Trillium School there, so we had a lot of hearing impaired students in our classes there. That was a very interesting experience. But also there's, and I think that's for a grade 8 class that's being taught at the Trillium School. And there's also a video of financial literacy being taught at the W. Ross McDonald School for the Sight Impaired in Brantford. That was just down the road from the school where I was teaching at in Brantford. So I feel a little bit connected to those 2 places. And it's kind of nice to see these lessons being taught to those groups of students. As I say, if you're interested, I will give you those specific links in the handout, the resource. And so if you go for the secondary resources, you can select it by your subject area. And I probably shouldn't have done, but I think I probably went to mathematics myself, did I? Yes, I did. Okay. Sorry about that, but is it Melanie who's teaching mathematics? So, so if you look at it in more detail, you'll see here, and as I say, it's something quite similar for all the other subject disciplines, and something that wasn't referenced in what you saw there and isn't referenced on this slide here, but at the bottom you'll see there's also a link to resources which come from the various subject associations. So I know the phys ed teaches some lesson plans, there's some resources that support it there. Certainly for mathematics there's some resources that support it there, and a lot of the subject associations are also supporting these resources as well. But what I really like about the videos, and this is true across the board, whichever subject area you go in, is that they break them down into the actual minds-on component or the action component or the consolidation component. So you don't need to watch through a whole 50, 60, 70-minute video to see things. If you want to focus on just what the Minds-On component would be to get things started, you want some ideas about that, then you can just click on that. I find that really helpful because I find a lot of experienced teachers sometimes are thinking about what would be a good sort of way of delivering a Minds-On component or a consolidation component to something. So, as I say, there's a lot of support documents here that you can find. These are available from the EduGains webpage. You'll see the link there up in the top left. This is the ministry one. And then when you go to the ministry, the EduGains main page, which was something like that at the bottom there, at the bottom half of that page there, when you go there, those different pages scroll through. So there's international languages. This is ESL, I think, or is it FSL? Yes, FSL. Education career planning. One of you was in guidance, I think. Differentiated instruction and so on. But there's one whole section of the EduGains which is on focusing on financial literacy, and that's what I've gone to in these next slides here. So when you go, this is the financial literacy component of EduGains. And if you click on the secondary resources, then you can go to the particular subject area that you're interested in. No, Josie, they're all totally available online. If you just Google for EduGains, and then when you get to the main page, just hunt down the financial literacy link. It'll say the page is under revision right now, so it's not quite as easy. Thank you very much, Mally. You're wonderful. Okay, there it is right there for you. Okay. Okay, one more resource from the ministry, and this is fairly new. Now, those of you that are not Melanie, don't be scared by this. It says Matthews.ca, and that stands for something, and I forget what the acronym is for there. But the reason why I've included this is because they have just developed as one of their learning tools a money tool, which means that you can have access to all the Canadian coins and bills. If you're working with a smart board, it would be really nice. I was teaching 5 sections each of grade 9 and grade 10 locally developed, and many sections of MEL, but especially for the locally developed grade 9 and grade 10, I would be using those currency tools all the time. And a lot of the software that's out there, of course, has American money and so on. And here we have all the money that we want, all the Canadian money that we want. So that's a really nice one there. And I'll say if you go to this page and click on the learning tools, and again, Mally has given us the complete link to the page anyway, the learning tools, and then they're listed down there alphabetically. So just go down until you hit the money resources, and you'll see it there. Okay. And then a couple more resources that this one I just came across very recently is an app for a game that promotes financial literacy. In the blurb, they say it's intended for grades 7 and 8, but I think it's something that has more general application on that. Certainly grades 9 and 10 I think would have lots of fun of it, maybe even some more senior students. But try it out yourselves first. These links are all in the resources that you'll be receiving tomorrow. And finally, if any of you are aware of the Junior Achievement, they also put out a lot of resources which are intended for teachers to use. And I took this clip back in November because back in November that was declared to be Financial Literacy Month, and they put an extra special focus on it there. So when you're looking for links, these are linked certainly from the EduGains related links page, and I think also from the OTF resources as well. But and these links are all included in the handout that you will be receiving. So essentially, I'm coming to the end of what I had there, but I was going to hope that we could see a video of one of the lessons there. And so again, since the web tour feature isn't being very cooperative tonight, I'm not sure. Manny, can I ask you to give us the link to that again?
To which video did you want to show?
Well, since we have a fairly eclectic group of subjects represented, I might let them just go to the financial literacy and pick on a video from their particular subject area to look at. And so if you give them the link to the EduGains financial literacy, and then they can choose one for themselves, and we'll give them, we've got plenty of time, so we'll give them 6 or 7 minutes this time. Is that okay with people? Anybody have any comments or suggestions? I think that would be a good use of our time.
So these are the video clips, right? That's the link that you want me to put in?
Yes, please.
The one that's there. Okay. And you wanted 6 minutes on the timer?
Yes, let's try for 6 minutes. So
okay.
Obviously, if you go and look at the action part of a lesson, that will take more than 6 minutes. But if you're looking at a minds-on or consolidation, they're often a little bit shorter. Okay. Yes, Cliff, that's correct. Cliff, you're the one of the participants who's interested in the special ed, but I don't think you'll find that particular link easily on the web page. It's really well hidden. So let's say that link is explicitly on the handout, but I suggest you look at one of the subject ones for now. Okay, so you've had a chance to look at some of those videos, so if you can give me a green check mark when you're ready to join the webinar again. Okay. So I hope you saw something there that you think would be of interest, and we're actually getting close to the end, so I'll be finishing a little bit early. I hope you don't mind that, but I suspect you all have busy lives to do, so you won't be too disappointed. But there's a couple more resources before we finish. Oh, first of all, I should ask, does anybody have any comments about anything they saw in the videos? Okay, I'm not seeing any comments or anybody writing anything, so okay. So then there's a couple more resources here for you. The supermarket, of course, is a very rich source of financial literacy. And again, these links are all in the handout. It's a site called Make It Count. And certainly for senior courses, there's a lot of really interesting topics there for classroom discussions and projects and assignments. And you can see there that the page itself is addressing parent input or instructors, teachers, and so on. So I'll let you have some fun and find out some of those things on your own. But let's say that my objective this evening has been to share with you the resources which are available and to hopefully whet your appetite and also to show you that the resources that are available to you are good resources, good quality, that can be used quite easily in your classrooms. So I'm hoping all of you found something tonight that you feel you can take back with you and use with your students. So essentially, that's what I had to share with you tonight. So thank you all very much. Mandy, do you have any?
Peter, for sharing all those ideas. So if anyone has any questions for Peter, if they would just want to put them in the chat box, we'll maybe give you a couple seconds to think about them. There's a lot of resources to share that we'll be sending out an email tomorrow, along with the link to the recording. And as Peter said, he's going to be sharing even more resources with you, but it looks like a really rich menu of resources that you'll be getting. And I agree, Daryl, that it's a lot of great stuff that I wish that
yes.
I had when I was teaching.
That's nice to hear, Sheila. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. And on the resources there, I've given you my email. Okay, so I'm just going to go on
to a little bit of the housekeeping thing.
Okay, sorry, Molly, I'll just say that I've included my email there.
Peter. I'll just put it in again. So there you go. There's Peter's contact information. So just a couple of housekeeping things. There's actually a little bit that we can go through tonight. The first one is the feedback survey, and we'd really appreciate it if you could fill in the survey. There's a couple of reasons. One of them is just to give Peter feedback on his great webinar about financial literacy, also for OTF Connects, and thirdly for the Ministry of Education, who funds these programs. So there are three ways to get to the survey. The first one is actually just to click on the link that's on the slide, and this is one of the live links that you can actually access. The second one is to it will take you directly to the feedback link when you're finished, and the third will be on the resource page when you receive it tomorrow. Once you do complete the survey, you will be given a link to a certificate of completion, and you can put that in your professional portfolio, which would be awesome. So we'd really appreciate it if you could complete the feedback survey. OTF Connects continues until the end of, actually there's one session in June, so if you do have some time, there's some great sessions coming up with Brian Aspinall and other people who will be presenting for different subject associations. So if there's something there that you're interested in, again, you can go to the resource page and sign up for additional OTF Connect sessions. And the really exciting thing is OTF this summer will be offering summer institutes once again through July and to the middle of August. And the summer institutes are 3-day workshops that the costs are covered by OTF, and they're great opportunities to continue your learning in the summer holidays. And there are lots of sessions on math, secondary math. There's technology sessions that you might be interested. So registration is open now, so if you'd like to go to that website, you can sign up. Also, there's a conference that's happening at the end of August, just before we go back to school, I guess it's before you go back to school. That will be, I think it's August 24th, around then. Once again, it's sponsored by OTF, and a great opportunity to learn hands-on using technology embedded in pedagogy. And finally, the teacher learning, the TLC, Teacher Learning Co-op, their deadline for submissions are on May 31st, and another opportunity for you to extend your professional development. So let's go back to the feedback survey slide, and I will stop the recording.